Marco Vincenzino, is with us now. He's the Director of Global Strategy Project, an independent foreign policy analyst, live in London for us. Thanks for your time, Marco. What do you make of what's happening now? We've had, if we go back, say, 24 hours or so, a resolution at the UN, an apparent ceasefire, still marching on Benghazi, it looks like, and both sides saying you're in the wrong.
It's not surprising at all. Despite the announcement, the announcement of the no-fly zone, the approval of the no-fly zone, the announcement of a ceasefire today by Gaddafi regime, the continued use of force was inevitable. The only thing that will stop Gaddafi is being confronted with the reality of foreign military force. At that point, I think things can change, but until then, it'll be just words.
So the march on Benghazi, if I can call it that, was always going to happen, even though that has been the stronghold of the opposition.
Absolutely inevitable. Until he's confronted, like I said, with the reality of foreign military intervention, that's the only time that he will pull back. But even then, when he does pull back, his use of force will be calibrated. He'll reduce it to sort of minimum levels whereby it's not to provoke foreign military force. So it's going to be a game of just calibrating his use of force.
Is there any fight back, any real fight back that could come from within Benghazi, do you think? Obviously, we've got an army, Gaddafi's army, going up against an armed group, if you like. Have they got any sort of fight in them to deal with that?
They can last. I'm sure it could last for a few days, but inevitably, without a foreign military participation, they can last for only so long. Maybe it'll be a few days. Some would say maybe even up to a week. But once again, if you don't have the foreign aircraft coming in and bombing Gaddafi's positions, the defenders of Benghazi, their days are limited.
And is that what you got out of President Obama's speech as well, where he was, he used the words, through military action, we will enforce this through military action, only a matter of time till that happens?
Listen, President Obama's speech he said what's needed to be said. Unfortunately, it was long overdue. Once again, his words are firm words, but the firm words need to be backed by firm action, and we haven't seen that yet. And the time that he's delayed in actually supporting the no-fly zone and making this firm speech, that delay will obviously impact the effectiveness of the UN resolution.
Here's the thing with firm action, though, whatever that ends up being, the United States particularly knows what firm action brings and the consequences that it can bring of essentially attacking another country. I mean, they're still going to be very careful about going in, and still, I would suggest, even a little hesitant about going in.
Of course, hesitant. You have American troops in Iraq, American troops in Afghanistan, but we can't. This is not an American action. This is an international concerted effort, whereby it's not just the United States. I mean, France and the UK have been at the forefront. The Arab League has approved the no-fly zone. There is international cooperation and collaboration, at least on paper and in rhetoric, but it needs to be backed by action. And the United States, once again, I think, in my opinion, American leadership is indispensable. But what's even more indispensable is other nations collaborating and participating with the U.S. Without their collaboration and participation, American leadership is not possible.
Great talking to you, Marco. Thank you. Marco Vincenzino from the Global Strategy Project there in London.